Okay, Joe Brady. We talked about it a little bit on our live stream yesterday. We want to kind of um, extend the conversation a little bit more today. So, B, how do you feel a day after the news? Your offensive coordinator, Joe Brady,
Still
is
feeling
out of
feeling
here.
pretty good. Feeling pretty good about it. Um, I look. It's unfair to Joe Brady. He was a scapegoat. What's going on is not really his fault. He didn't build the O line. He didn't build the defense. That's underperforming. Uh, but you know, I take it as the first of many changes coming this offseason. I think that Matt Rule's feeling the heat.
Yes.
And he's feeling it because he went to David Tepper's office and David Tepper stood behind him with a lit candle. But I think that if things don't turn around, you're going to be potentially looking at a whole new crew in Carolina next season.
Absolutely. I absolutely think. I mean, they got to come out today and say it was Matt Rule's decision. The owner had nothing to do with it. That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches don't get rid of their guys unless they're forced to. Right. And that's absolutely his guy. What happened was um they made a lot of bad choices coming up
Mm-hmm.
to the start of the season, starting with Sam Darnold, right? I mean, actually, we could trace it back to last year when they got rid of Cam Newton because Cam Newton's back now. But Sam Darnold just a complete disaster after getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater, right? I believe the owner did let Matt Rule make those decisions because he gave him that kind of control.
Yeah.
It's his team. He's the one coaching it. And Sam Darnold he was horrible. And there was no other options. Tepper's looking at Teddy Bridgewater do fairly well with the Broncos. They're competing for a playoff spot. And he's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Right. And I think he told Matt Rule, swallow your pride. Um, I'm bringing in Cam. He's coming to my house. You come over here and you get in your hands and knees and say, you're sorry. Please come back. And that's what happened. And Cam went out there, played a little bit in the first game against Arizona, looked good. Second game against Washington football team, looked good, didn't win. And then the game last week against Miami just completely it was a horrible performance by him, right?
Yeah.
But one bad game. They shouldn't have pulled him out. We talked about that. I think
Mm-hmm.
that benching, I think that may have played in to Joe Brady getting fired.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is we can't do anything with him. And as a multi-billionaire owner who said, I want this guy, and he just got here, and you're saying, we can't do anything with him. We have to bench him. Right? Oh, you can't do anything? Well then.
Well,
You
yeah,
gotta go.
and the reports have been that him not being able to essentially fix the quarterback position was a big part of him being fired because it's not just Cam, it's not just the owner's guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You brought in Teddy Bridgewater, who was your guy, and you turned on him midseason, got
Yes.
rid of him, brought in Sam Darnold, and that went sour after 3 games. And you kind of turned on him midseason as well, not as dramatically as you did with Teddy, but you kind of started talking about him like he didn't exist anymore. Then you put in PJ Walker,
Yes.
and you can't do anything with him either. Now Cam's back, and you benched him. Like you said, you're kind of sending that message that, man, I don't know, maybe none of these guys can play. And the owner said, well, yeah, maybe you can't coach. So
Yeah.
we'll figure it out, right? They fired him, and they brought in. You mentioned him being Matt Rule's guy. Maybe so, but the offensive coordinator now is Matt Rule's guy for real. It's Jeff Nixon,
Yeah.
who was a co-offensive coordinator and running backs coach at Baylor a few years ago with Matt Rule. So he's going to be the interim offensive coordinator for the rest of the season. He's been a running backs coach. He bounced around a bit. He was at Penn State. He was at Temple for a year. He went to Baylor. He's been with a few NFL teams. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, changing the offensive coordinator with 5 games left in the season, probably not going to do much for the awful offensive line that you've got. But
Yeah.
and your star running back being out for the year But we'll see. We'll see if there's if he comes in and does a better job of calling the game, does a better job of making halftime adjustments, because that's something that Joe Brady and Matt Rule have not been able to do at all. Maybe there's a future there, but I'm kind of expecting that he's just keeping the seat warm until Tepper gets rid of all of them and they bring in a whole new cast of characters next season.
Yeah, because I got the feeling after last week. I mean, it's just a feeling, right? You see Christian McCaffrey go on IR. We're sitting here wondering, did he have to go on the IR? Could he come back?
Same with Dante Jackson.
Same with Dante Jackson. And it's like, are they trying to tank? But you can't really tank because you have Cam here. I know Tepper already offered him a 2-year deal. He wants him back next year, right? So you have to see what you got in Cam for the rest of this year, and if he's showing enough, okay, we got to build around him next year. So the season's not over. It's not over by a long shot. And even as a fan, right, you guys should be excited about the rest of the season. Okay, you don't make the playoff. First of all, you're not eliminated yet.
Yeah.
But you got to play the rest of the season to see if Cam's got it. If Cam still has it, that's reason to be excited. And if he doesn't have it, then you can be okay with that too. You're not going to be wondering about it. So there's still a lot of reason to watch this year.
Yeah. So, in terms of if they were trying to tank, I think they were absolutely trying to tank because they need talent, right?
Yeah.
They need talent on that O-line. This is supposed to be a strong offensive line class, but they don't have a second round pick or a third round pick because they traded for Sam Darnold and they traded for CJ Henderson. And we said it at the time, everybody's like, oh yeah, these are good trades. Like, you're not going to feel that way come April when you don't have those picks, because Sam Darnold's not the guy and you don't know what you're getting in CJ Henderson. But why would a team give up on a top 10 pick after 8 games?
Right.
So like right now you're starting to look at it and you're like, well, we're kind of drifting towards the middle of the first round, and you don't want to be there if you're trying to get day one starters on the O-line. So yeah, maybe Christian is a little more hurt than we initially said. Maybe Dante can't really make it back from whatever injury it is he has. And maybe we just drop a few more games and solidify ourselves into that top 10 and get us a left tackle for the first time since Jordan Gross, and start the turnaround that way. But again, this is the thing with with the GM and with Matt Rule. You're putting value in the wrong positions, right? Because there's absolutely no reason for you to take a corner in the top 10. And that is also coming back to bite you now.
Absolutely.
Because you could have had your left tackle. I would have gone with Justin Fields there. I thought that was the obvious pick. But if you weren't sold on Justin Fields, that's fine. You should have Rashawn Slater. You should be solidified at left tackle. But you said, hey, I have a blueprint. This is how I'm going to do it. Corner's just not as valuable as left tackle. It just isn't. It doesn't matter if he comes in, if JC Horn comes in and he's Jalen Ramsey from day one. That's not good enough.
And what did you end up doing anyway? You traded for Stephon Gilmore.
They traded for Stephon Gilmore and CJ Henderson.
Yeah.
So like, what do you were never gonna keep all those corners. So
plus Dante Jackson, right?
Right.
Like
right.
You're not doing that.
So you passed on a franchise left tackle. That's coming back to bite you. You overpaid for a quarterback who you knew was bad. That's coming back to bite you. And you don't have any draft picks. So I think that's the one thing that could save Matt Rule is it's not going to be attractive to anybody to come to a team that has this many issues and no draft picks.
Well, I'll say this. I love Christian McCaffrey, right? I know Panthers fans, y'all love Christian McCaffrey. But his window's closed in terms of him having that value for his contract, right? Mm-hmm. I've talked about this before. For running backs, look, I don't completely devalue the running back position. I think Christian McCaffrey is important to the team. I think Derrick Henry is important to the Titans, right? Those are special players. But when you give them huge contracts, you have that window to win with them to where it gets to a point where they're not worth what they're getting paid. And unfortunately, McCaffrey's been hurt for a big chunk of that window. And you have to trade him now while you can still get value. And I think maybe putting him on IR might be one of those things where it's just like, let's heal him up, get him 100%, and then we can trade him.
Yeah, but I think the window is closed for that as well, because since he signed that contract, he's played 10 games.
Yes,
10 out of I believe it's 30.
but if he's
Um,
100%, you're not gonna get a first round pick, but you'll get some picks.
you might get some picks, but you're going to get less than you should be getting for a player of Christian McCaffrey's caliber,
Yeah,
because you waited and waited and waited, and he got hurt and he got hurt and he got hurt again, and he plays a position that doesn't affect the game as much as other positions, and you gave him a contract that was bigger than any other player in history at that position. So running backs, they have value on good teams. They
yeah,
have value on teams that are contending. They don't have value on bad teams. Christian McCaffrey doesn't matter to Carolina. He just doesn't.
yeah,
Him being out on the field doesn't really make a difference for them, because they're too bad in other areas to take advantage of what he does. Now, if you could convince a contending team or a team that's close to contending to give you, a few picks for him, I would do it. But I'm not sure they'll be able to get that done, because they just keep running him out there, keep letting him get hurt, and he's sitting out too many games for teams to give you anything of value.
yeah, yeah. That's the unfortunate part. But either way, I mean, you're gonna at this point. I mean, are you gonna hold on to him, or do you trade him and take what you can get?
It depends on the offers. I think they're just going to end up holding on to him, because I don't really think that they're going to get high enough offers to justify letting him go.
Right.
Like, you're not going to trade him for a fifth, right? Uh, I don't think that they're going to get good enough value in return to trade him. So I
Yeah.
think he'll be there next year, and they're just going to try to make the best of it.
And look, when he's healthy, he's a force,
Yeah,
right?
he's one of the best players in the league when he's healthy, but
Yeah.
he just
So what?
hasn't been.
So what they need to do, it's not a bad idea to just go ahead and shut it down now, right? And let him come back 100% next year. Manage his snaps, right? Fix the O line,
Mhm.
right? And you might see a completely healthy CMC throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed. But there's still work to do right now for Panthers. Okay, there's
Mhm.
still work to do. So, any thoughts of tanking is not an option, and I hope Tepper sent that message to the staff. And absolutely, that is putting Matt Rule on notice. Like, you can be next.
Yeah.
You're going to be next if you don't show me something. Matt Rule has to coach like he's trying to make the playoffs, because then you guys aren't mathematically eliminated, right? And you're only what, 1.5 games out of the
Yeah.
last seed, I think, right now. It's still up in the air. You
Mhm.
can still make it. So Matt Rule better coach like he wants to win. He better coach like Cam is his man,
Yeah.
right? Cam is his guy. He better go out there and put all the faith in Cam and make sure he gives him the best chance to succeed if he wants to keep this job. Otherwise, he's out of here. We'll be doing another video in the offseason about who your next coach might be.
Well, yeah, because and the other part is we talked about fixing the O line, right? Because
Yeah.
you just have the one pick. If Cam doesn't play well the rest of the season, they're not going to bring him back, and then you're going to be looking for a quarterback. There's been talks that they're looking at Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Um, another option is Tua, who is playing much better this season for
Yes.
Miami, but everybody knows they're in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Like, that's who they want. So if that comes to pass, maybe you can try to grab Tua out of Miami. But if Cam doesn't play well, you're not even going to have the opportunity to fix your O line through the draft next season.
Mm.
It's going to have to come exclusively through free agency. So yeah, like I said, I think that's the one thing working in Matt Rule's favor. Unfortunately, is it's just not an attractive job.
I honestly, the quarterback thing, I think, I think they are. I think Tepper is almost 100% in on Cam for next year. He will have to play extremely poor through the rest of the season for Tepper to change his mind. I think even if he doesn't look great, he'll just say, "Man, look, you came in towards the end of the year, and this coaching staff is a disaster. Don't worry about it. Come back next year, because I mean, we need a quarterback for next year. We rather if we're gonna go through a gap year with somebody, we'll do it with Cam,
Yeah,
right?
well, like I said, it depends on how he plays the rest of the season, but if he plays really poorly, they're not going to bring him back.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be looking at options at quarterback, and you may not even have the option of like I said, fixing the O line through the draft at that point.
Yeah.
So it's looking like a long turnaround for Carolina, maybe.